Hi and welcome to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. It's Lois here and welcome to quick watercolour tip number 5. This is number 5 in my new series. If you'd like to see other useful watercolour tips and techniques, then please take a look at our playlist for quick watercolour tips, which I will be adding to on a regular basis. Today's tip is about brushstrokes and most specifically the direction of your brushstrokes as you paint. Quite often I come across beginners who tend to sort of paint areas of their paintings in a similar way to colouring in. So if they've got a hill or a field, they'll block it in with their colour and then they'll move on to the next thing like a tree or a house and block that in with colour. When we're painting or trying to paint loosely with this loose watercolour style, we want to try and sort of get away from the sort of colouring in style of brushstrokes. We're looking for expressive brushwork, gestural brushwork, and what that means is using expansive and expressive brushstrokes that kind of inform the direction of the thing of which we're trying to paint. And I probably haven't explained that very well, but with this example here, I've tried to paint the mountains with as fewer brushstrokes as I can, and you can see most of the brushstrokes because I've used large brushes and I've used different types of strokes, mostly sort of rugged, strong, shallow and steeper diagonal brush strokes. So I'm following the shape of the land with my brushwork, with my solid tones and my dry brush work. You can see it more clearly on the dry brush areas, but I think that's the tip that I want to offer today and go into in a little bit more detail, is to think about the shape of the thing you're trying to paint, the way it sits in the landscape, and then the atmosphere that you're trying to create. For example, if you look at the sky here in this, the clouds are unpainted paper, but the blue sky areas, the brushstrokes are sweeping upward, and this upward sweep of the blue sky and the clouds creates a sort of a push and a pull between the mountains and the sky, and you really get a sense of the windswept, bleak atmosphere of the mountain simply through the directionality of my brushwork. And of course, these are the kind of subjects that I cover in my Patreon group. So if you're interested in joining us, then please follow the link below. This next example is a completely different atmosphere, but again, the directionality of my brushwork has helped to create the illusion of what I'm trying to put across with this painting. I think if we zoom in a little bit closer and look at the nets, these fishing nets that have been set up at low tide, then you can look closely at the direction of how I've applied the colour to the nets in these sort of soft sweeps of colour. And it's this gentle direction that helps to add sort of a little bit of body, a bit of structure to the nets, and the illusion that they are draped in the way that they are. And again, taking a look at the sky, you can see that I've created perspective and distance in the sky using shallow diagonal brushstrokes, pushing the paint, sweeping it upwards and changing the the tonal value of the paint in order to create perspective in the sky, depth and distance. So going back to the full painting again, and just to say that if you look at the direction of the brush strokes in the foreground and midground that show the kind of wet sand, then we have horizontal brush strokes keeping the sand flat, but we then have vertical brush strokes that describe the reflections of the nets and the poles in the sand. So brushwork and the direction that you use when you paint each part of your painting is really important and can add to the simplicity and effectiveness of your paintings. And this is especially apt if you want to try to paint loosely. As I said at the beginning, we're looking for the maximum visual effect of suggested detail that we can get from the minimum amount of brushwork. So the direction of each brushstroke for each item is really important. And I think the benefit of following this tip and really thinking about the directionality of your brushstroke as you paint each item is that it's a lot easier than labouring away, sort of trying to get atmosphere purely by sort of colouring in or blocking in areas of your painting without any regard for the directionality of your brushwork. Once you start painting in this way, you'll begin to see how easy it is to create a nice flat wall with a simple sweep of the flat brush, how to angle that same flat brush stroke to create a sloping roof, and of course anything else that you wish to paint. Think about the most effective brushstroke to create the illusion or the suggestion of what you're trying to paint loosely. Try it out in your sketchbook or on the back of old paintings to start with, and you'll find that it's actually easy, effective and convincing, and something that can really help you to progress on your watercolour journey. Well, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to see more of the watercolour tips, to check out the playlist. And thanks to everyone that supports us on Patreon. We really appreciate you. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.